Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive that's been crafted just for you, especially for listeners like you who are fascinated by the world of payment systems.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? We're about to pull back the curtain on those everyday online purchases and see how the cloud is changing the game.
And our guide for this journey is a 2022 architectural blueprint from AWS, like a tech blueprint. It reveals how modern payment systems are actually built.
It's a glimpse into these systems, the ones handling millions of transactions every single minute, all thanks to the power of the cloud. It's really quite impressive.
Okay, so picture this. You're about to buy something online, you've hit that buy button, and then what happens in those few seconds before you get that confirmation email?
Well, your request goes on a pretty fascinating journey, and this blueprint actually breaks it down into 5 key steps.
And traditionally, that request would go straight to a bank's data center, but now things are taking a bit of a detour, heading straight to the cloud.
Right, no more relying solely on those physical data centers. Steps 3 and 4 in the blueprint, they highlight this shift using AWS infrastructure, specifically through a dedicated connection they call AWS Direct Connect.
So it's like a dedicated highway, but for your data.
Exactly, a highway for data. And what it means for you, the user, is faster, more reliable transactions. Can't argue with that, right?
Absolutely. But once that data arrives safely in the cloud, it needs to get to the right place, like finding its way in a busy, bustling city. And that's where the blueprint introduces this concept of Amazon API Gateway.
You can think of API Gateway like a super efficient traffic controller. It only lets authorized requests through and keeps everything running without a hitch. Sort of like a digital bouncer for your data, I guess you could say.
So ensuring security right from the start. I like it.
Absolutely. It's essential, a crucial layer of protection, especially in this new world of cloud-based payments.
So we've got our request, it's routed to the cloud, it's passed through security. What happens next? This is where the real magic of the cloud comes in, right?
Yeah, you could say that. This is where we enter the world of microservices. And trust me, they're a complete game changer in how these systems are designed, how they perform.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Microservices, it sounds a little technical, but I have a feeling this is where things get really interesting.
It is, and it's a pretty intuitive idea once you wrap your head around it. So imagine you have a complex task, like processing a payment, right? And instead of one giant machine doing everything, you break it down into smaller, more manageable steps. Each of those steps is handled by a separate service, an independent one, a microservice. Makes sense?
It does. So instead of one massive system, it's more like a team of specialists all working together.
You got it. You've got your payment microservice, the one handling the actual transfer funds. You've got your balance microservice. That one checks account balances. And the beauty of this whole thing is each one operates independently.
So what are the big advantages of this approach? Let's say for someone who is, I don't know, trying to buy a new pair of shoes online. So last we left off, our payment request was entering the world of microservices, like a whole team of specialists ready to take on the task.
hmm
What are the big advantages of this approach for, let's say, someone just trying to buy a new pair of shoes online?
Well, for starters, think about what happens when, say, a popular online store has this big flash sale. Suddenly, tons of traffic, orders are pouring in. With this microservice setup, the system can just call in reinforcements. Like it can spin up more instances of that payment microservice to handle the load, no problem.
So no more website crashes right when you're about to check out. That's a
Yeah.
definite plus for our shoe shopper, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about handling those huge bursts of activity. It's about making the system as a whole more resilient, more robust. So if one microservice, for whatever reason, hits a snag, the others can just keep on running. It's like having a backup generator.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got a request routed to the cloud, broken down into these bite-sized chunks for the microservices to handle. But we're talking about sensitive financial data here, right? How does all of this stay secure?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it's one thing to have all this cool technology, but it's meaningless if your information isn't safe and sound. And that's where this AWS blueprint gets really, really impressive.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people get hesitant about the cloud. So walk us through it. How does this blueprint ensure our shoe shopper's credit card details are completely locked down?
Okay, so remember how this system still has to connect back to those core banking systems? It's not like the cloud replaces everything entirely.
Right, right. It's more like they have to work together, right?
Exactly. And the blueprint actually shows how that connection is secured. Not just with a regular internet connection, oh no. We're talking dedicated lines here. Like having an armored car transport that data straight to the bank's vault.
Okay, so it's like a super secure tunnel for all of our sensitive information.
Exactly, a super secure tunnel. And inside that vault, they have this thing called an HSM. Stands for Hardware Security Module. It's a physical device completely dedicated to keeping encryption keys safe and sound. The ultimate lockbox, really.
So even if someone did manage to intercept the data, it'd be useless without the key, right?
Yeah. You got it. It adds this incredibly strong layer of protection. But, what about the data itself while it's being processed in the cloud, before it even gets to that secure connection?
That's what I was wondering. Is it just floating around up there?
No way, not at all. That's where Amazon RDS comes in. It's a database service designed specifically for these really important transactions like processing payments. And here's where it gets even cooler. RDS ensures something called, get this, ACD properties for data integrity.
ACD property. Okay, you're going to have to break that one down for me.
Sure. So ACID, it stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Now, I know that sounds a little technical, but essentially it's like having this guarantee that every single transaction is treated as one indivisible action.
So no half-finished transactions, no data getting lost in the process.
Exactly. Either every single part of that transaction is completed successfully or none of it is. This whole thing prevents any partial updates or data corruption, keeps everything in sync and totally secure.
Okay, that's reassuring, to say the least. But we're not done with the acronyms yet, are we?
Yeah.
What about KMS and Secrets Manager? I saw those in the blueprint. Are they involved in the security fortress too?
Oh, absolutely. Think of them as the security guards within our fortress, constantly on patrol.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
All right, so AWS Key Management Service, or KMS, that one helps create and manage those super important encryption keys we talked about. And then you have Secrets Manager, which is like a secure vault for storing all those sensitive credentials, those API keys, the things the system needs to function, but that obviously need to be kept, under lock and key.
So it's like this whole security ecosystem with multiple layers of protection at every single step.
Precisely. And that's why these kinds of systems are becoming more trusted than ever.
So we've covered security, which is obviously critical. But what about speed? No one wants to be waiting around for their payment to go through when they're online shopping, right?
You're absolutely right. Speed is essential. And that's where things like Amazon Elasticache and Amazon MSK, two more pieces of this cloud puzzle, come into play.
Okay, hit me with it. How are these speeding things up for our shoe shopper?
Imagine you're checking out online,
Yeah.
and the system already remembers your frequently used payment details or your shipping address.
Makes sense, yeah? It's like having my information pre-filled so I don't have to type it in every single time.
Exactly. And that's Elasticache doing its thing. It's a caching layer, so it remembers that frequently accessed data, making the whole process way faster.
So it's all about streamlining the experience, making it as smooth as possible for the user.
You got it. And then there's Amazon MSK, which is based on something called Apache Kafka. This is where it gets really, really interesting. MSK is all about real-time data streaming.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm drawing a blank on what real-time data streaming actually means.
Okay, think of it like this. Imagine getting a fraud alert on your phone, like the very second a suspicious transaction is attempted.
That's impressive. How does it even work so fast?
That, my friend, is the power of MSK. It allows different parts of the system to talk to each other instantly, no delays.
So it's like a direct line of communication between all parts of the system, making it incredibly responsive.
Exactly, like a well-coordinated team, constantly sharing information in real time. And what does that mean for you? A smoother, more secure experience.
That's fascinating. So I've got this intricate system, all these different services working together, ensuring both security and speed. But what happens when things need to be updated or changed? Technology is always evolving, right?
That's a great point, and it's something this AWS blueprint addresses directly.
Okay, so how do they keep this whole system up to date and always ahead of the curve?
One word. Observability. It's like having this real-time dashboard that gives developers a clear view of what's happening inside this complex system at all times.
So they're constantly monitoring and tweaking things behind the scenes, making sure everything is running smoothly.
Precisely. Tools like Amazon OpenSearch Service and CloudWatch, they provide these real-time insights into performance, all those metrics, so they can identify and address any hiccups before they even become real problems.
It's like having a team of expert mechanics constantly monitoring the engine, making sure everything's running perfectly.
A perfect analogy. And then you have Amazon ECR, which stands for Elastic Container Registry, which I know sounds a little intimidating, but it's a very cool concept.
Containers. That rings a bell. Didn't we talk about microservices being like individual containers earlier?
Spot on. You're exactly right. And ECR is where those containers are stored and managed. Makes it incredibly easy to update, deploy, scale them all independently.
So it's like a well-organized toolbox where each tool or microservice is neatly stored, ready to be used or updated when needed.
Another perfect analogy. It makes the whole system adaptable, future-proof, which is critical in the tech world.
Wow, we've covered so much ground. From that initial click to buy those shoes, to this deep dive into the cloud, exploring the world of microservices, uncovering the layers of security and speed that power it all. It's incredible how much complexity is baked into something we do almost every day without even thinking twice.
It really is, and it's a testament to how this cloud-native design is completely transforming the landscape of payment processing, making it faster, more secure, incredibly flexible.
It really is. But with all of this innovation, all this constant evolution, it begs the question, what's next? What does the future hold for payment systems?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question, and luckily we have a few ideas.
So we've uncovered all the inner workings of this cloud-based payment system. Pretty amazing stuff. But I'm really curious, what does the future hold? What comes next for online payments?
Well, imagine, just picture a world where you could walk into a store, just grab what you need, and walk right out. No checkout lines, no credit cards, nothing.
Wait, like some kind of futuristic shopping experience?
Exactly. And that's just the beginning. We're talking about payments being woven into our lives even more than they are now, totally seamless.
Okay, now you have my attention. Tell me more.
Think about wearable technology, right? Like, what if your smartwatch or even your fitness tracker could handle payments for you? You could just tap your wrist to pay, no more digging for your wallet.
That would be a game changer. Especially, when I'm rushing out the door and can't find my wallet anyway.
Exactly. And it goes even further than that. I mean, we're talking about biometrics, like your fingerprint, your voice, even your face could become your payment method.
So like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound like it, but this stuff is already being developed, tested as we speak.
That's incredible. Makes you wonder what else is coming down the line. Any other, I don't know, any other predictions you can share?
Well, think about the metaverse, right?
hmm
All those virtual worlds. As we spend more time in those spaces, we'll need ways to buy and sell virtual stuff. That's a whole new world of payment possibilities.
So if we're talking about virtual currencies, digital assets, the whole nine yards.
Exactly. It's constantly evolving, but the exciting part is that cloud-based foundation we've been talking about. That's what makes all of this possible in the first place.
That's what's so cool about this.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding the nitty-gritty technical details. It's about the bigger picture, seeing how this stuff impacts our lives.
Absolutely. This deep dive into payment systems, it wasn't just about the how. It was about, opening up those possibilities, getting you, the listener, thinking about the future of something we take for granted.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I have one final question for you. If you had to sum up the key takeaway from all of this, what would it be?
That's easy. The future of payments is, well, it's happening now. It's evolving at an incredible pace. And thanks to the power of the cloud, it's more secure, efficient, and frankly, more exciting than ever before.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of modern payment systems. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time.